Okay, everybody, I am absolutely thrilled today because I am joined by Matthew Waterson, aka Magneto. We are going to be talking spoilers for X-Men 97 episode 5, so make sure you watch that wild episode first before you watch this interview. Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm still trying to process what I just watched with that episode. Just absolutely incredible. So there's a lot to break down in this, but I want to know with Rogue Gambit and Magneto going to Genosha and Magneto's like this god there. Do you think he likes that kind of attention on him? Do you think he's like secretly digging that?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think that there is. I think that it is the discomfort that you see and the sort of reticence that he expresses when he realizes that the council is sort of asking him to be the figurehead is genuine because one of the things that makes Magneto so fascinating is that he's not out for self-enrichment or power or anything really for himself. His drive has always been to protect his people. And he's always sort of looked at it as there are a small number of us who are truly powerful enough to protect all of us.
Mm.
And I've seen how this goes before when a group gets targeted and victimized, and I'm not going to let that happen again. I don't think that if everything were, sunshine and fairy tales, that he would be a leader in that sense or trying to become a leader or trying to be
Mm.
in charge or run anything. I think he would just be more than happy being himself and doing, going about his life. But that's just not the world that he was born into and that he has become an adult in.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer, and that definitely makes sense. And you had mentioned too about him being on this council, and then being offered to be the leader of Genosha. So he's a little hesitant there. And then Moira says to him that Charles trusted you with the X-Men, he would trust you with this. So do you really think though there was any chance he was going to reject that offer, or him hearing that from Moira was the last thing that got him to say yes? Like, how did you kind of see that?
Yeah, I think that that's kind of been something that has been both used by him and used against him
Mm,
since Charles was gone. This idea of Charles trusted me and you all trust Charles, so you should trust me in this. But also, I'm doing this because I trust Charles, and in the end, Charles showed that his way of doing this might actually be the solution. So I've tried my way. I'm gonna actually keep the faith and try his way. And so it's this funny thing that keeps both of them, both sides sometimes are able to use to make their point, and both sides sometimes kind of push against. Like I think that in this instance, him being told, Charles trusted you to be in charge, so you should be in charge. That doesn't just mean the X-Men. By following what Charles asked for, this is what we now have, and you were the one who actually finished, got us over the finish line, so you should be the one in charge because you're the person who everybody knows. You're the person who everybody at least gives credit to for this of actually getting it done. And so you're the one they're going to listen to. There's a this sort of back and forth one way or another, but there was always the story at the beginning of the U.S. that George Washington was not the smartest or the savviest or the
mm.
best or the best politician or anything. He was the one who everybody believed in. They're like, this is
Right.
everybody agrees because of what he had done and what he had been given credit for of like this person can lead us and everybody will follow that guy. And what we need right now is somebody who everybody will follow. And at the
Yeah.
moment, Magneto is the one in that community who is that. I also apologize. My rooster is standing right on my doorstep and
That's a real rooster.
that is, yeah, he apparently
Oh, okay.
be in here. I can go and open the door and yell at him to move him, but he tends to like to stand on the doorstep of my office and call to his people. It's very, very frustrating.
I no, I love it. I was wondering if you had like an alarm clock going or something. I was like, is that's a real rooster?
He
That's
literally,
that's
and
amazing, honestly.
the office is right here,
Yeah.
and there are three steps down, and he's standing at the foot of the steps just yelling to his people. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I love it. No, but you gave a great answer on that. And what I love about X-Men 97 too, with exploring really Magneto, is seeing him without Charles in his life and that impact Charles had on him, and him making these decisions on his own, I think is actually incredible. And what's also really shocked a lot of people is this crazy love triangle he's in with Rogue and Gambit. So who do you personally think is a better match for Rogue, Magneto or Gambit?
That's tough. I mean, I will say I think that, and this is I want to be very clear. This is just my point of view. This is nothing to do with what we've talked about in terms of talking through the show as we've done it. As you've seen so far. To me, because of what I said earlier in terms of Magneto, is he's in a position that he wouldn't naturally choose to be in. I think that's a really hard place for anybody to be able to actually settle down and match somebody, because you're not in a place you're comfortable. And if you're not in a place you're comfortable, then everything that you're doing, even if it's for the best of reasons and you have the best of intent,
Mm,
everything you're doing is a little forced, because
mm.
you're having to step into this position. And that's a really hard place to build a relationship from, for any human being in general. If you're in a position in your life where you are uncomfortable, you're not doing what you want, you're not necessarily happy, that's a really tough time to start a relationship, because whatever happens, if you do get to where you want to be, you're going to be changing what you were when the person met you. And one of the big difficulties in a relationship is, if the people change as you go through it, what they want compared to what they wanted at the start. If you meet somebody and you're like, oh, we're on the same page, everything is working, that's great. If one person stays the same and another person changes, that can be really difficult in a relationship. And you've got Magneto in a position that I don't think would be his choice. And so being in a relationship that has the potential to be a long lasting one is really tough, because in an ideal world, he's not doing any of that anymore. And I don't
Yeah.
know how I don't know how that would play out over time. That again is just my personal point of view on relationships in general, applied to this particular situation. But on the other hand, Magneto obviously has a certain amount of respect for a certain amount of added respect for other very, very powerful mutants who are, have a lot of control and have a lot of power, and Rogue certainly falls into that category. So it may that there's also the thing of like, no, you are somebody who is a match for me. You are somebody who is, an equal of me. So
Yeah, yeah. No, what were you gonna say?
yeah, no, no. So that that makes it a back and forth, and exactly the reason that Rogan and Remy have an issue of there is this sort of disparity in power. Obviously, Remy is able to put out a huge amount of power, but there's just a bit of a disparity in how much control they have over what they can do, and so the same issues exist both ways around. But yeah, I think that for Eric, it's a tough place to start a relationship from.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? There's all the same issues like you're saying, but he does have that one up with that he can actually touch Rogue. So there you go. That's goal.
That's a big difference. Actually, being able to touch the person that you come in a relationship with, definitely is a positive.
Yes. Now you would mention too how Magneto like loves to protect, especially people who are the innocent and can't defend themselves. So this is really shown well through how he protects Leech here, and him saying, not let him be afraid again and keep his promise. And then he says, "Don't be afraid" in German, which I thought was beautiful how that came about. So did you feel those emotions when you were saying the line? Did you feel even more when you watched it back? Just talk me through that.
So that it reading that section in the script and recording that section of the script is has been one of the times when the words on paper actually had the most immediate and direct effect on me as I was doing them in anything that I've
Mm.
done, from theater or anything like that. And I've been lucky. I've got to do some amazing theater of absolute classics, and that the way that was written and the way the situation was put together was much more emotionally affecting, sort of instantaneously upon just reading it, let alone actually performing it, than almost anything else I've ever done. It's that it's that really, really difficult thing to put your hand on, to put your finger on, which is the more simple that you can make it, the more effective it is because
Mm,
you cut away all the fat. And what Bo was able to do in this is for all of these characters, because they're the team is juggling so many characters in the
mm,
show. So what they really have to do and what they became really exceptional at was cutting away everything to just get to the most simple core, so that in sometimes in very short scenes or in very little exchange you could really get to the heart of the matter. And so in that one, being able to go in a 30-second sequence of a 35-minute episode, being able to get to everything that Eric had been dealing with since he was a child, and putting it all into sort of one act and then one line. It's just a hugely affecting section, and it was really affecting to do. It was there's always the fight of like, you want the emotion to come through, but you also need to make sure you get the line out and clear and so that it works. And sometimes you're fighting against that and in certain scenes. And this was definitely one where I had to sort of go, okay, I need to recover a little bit from when I first read it and when I first speak it, in order to be able to do it with the emotion, but also make sure that I can actually get through it in the way that it needs to be got through for the scene to work. And those don't always completely mesh, because we've all seen things where you're like, well, that actor was clearly very upset, but you have no idea what actually happened because they were so upset and so worked up, and you're like,
mm.
exactly know what happened there, because the emotion overtook the actual story that was being told.
Right.
So that's a difficult thing sometimes, to make sure that you infuse that in, but also your primary job is to cause that emotion in the viewer, not to have that yourself. So you need
Right.
to, oh, this is affecting, have it, and then try and figure out the best way to perform it so that you will cause that emotion to occur in the person watching.
Yes. No, that's an amazing answer. And it's also great acting advice too. It's like brilliant stuff there. And you do an amazing job. Like you just elevate that scene so great with your voice acting. I'm still thinking about it.
Thank you. I will.
Really
I didn't come
phenomenal.
up with that. Someone else, but other people had taught me that. So that's me just as everybody does, stealing.
Yeah, well, you listen to the right advice. So that's the key. Now there's a big debate in the X community now where, can you confirm for us that he's right now definitely dead because there's no body, or is it like up in the air right now? What do
I,
you see?
I'm One of the things that Marvel and Disney are very clear on is that you can talk about stuff that has happened. You can't talk about what will not. Like there's nothing. So there's nothing that I can comment on in terms of anything in the show, any my character, any other characters, anything that is to come.
Pleading the fifth.
Yeah, I am not able to, honestly, nor would I want to. One of the funny things about doing the shows, we were working on it for a long time, and it's been really, really amazing the last couple of months, from when the trailer came out to when the show started airing, for people to actually be able to see it. And for the majority of the time that we've been working on it, I wasn't even able to tell anybody what I was playing, which character.
Wow. Wow.
So, they had announced who was in it a year or two ago, and I had friends sort of in entertainment who were kind of taking bets, and they're like, okay, if I guess right, will you confirm? And I'm like, no.
No, he's
And,
smart.
yeah, and they're like, well, I know that this person are coming back, so I don't think it's that. But then, and so but one of the things that's been really fun has been, because we managed to keep so much of it actually secret, seeing people actually experience it as it comes, as opposed to I personally, when I see things like I if I hear a spoiler for a film or a TV show, it personally doesn't change for me that much,
Okay.
the human experience, but I know that it can do for a lot of people, and so it's
Oh
been
yeah.
really, really fun watching people experience this show and the bits that come out of it and what happens with the characters sort of in real time together in a serial format every week.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what makes this so thrilling, and I'm happy that it's week to week for that reason.
I am too.
Um, so I think another big debate people have had just about Magneto is, people want to know, do you prefer the new purple outfit on him, or do you actually prefer the classic outfit like we see in the Danger Room this season? Like, what is your favorite Magneto getup?
I love the. As soon as they first showed me that, and I will admit freely, I wasn't familiar with it from the comics.
Mm,
as soon as they showed it to me, I went, "That's amazing! What is that?" And they said, "No, this is from this era of the comics." And I went out and got it. I have the it's back there. I have the cover
The
that
Claremont, right? Yeah.
in chains. Um, but I and we said as soon as they showed it to me, I said, "Oh, people are gonna either love it or hate it." And they went, "Uh-huh, yeah, that's the point." I love it just because, partly for a selfish reason, in that I don't think anybody has voiced that iteration of Magneto before, so that one gets to be mine.
Right, right.
Just from a purely selfish reason, that's my Magneto.
Yes.
I don't have to share him with any of the other voice actors or with Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender or anything. I'm like, that's my one. So that from a selfish reason I really love. But I also really like the costume because there's something about, if it was completely, if it was complete body covering of the sort of purple black and it sort of all the way down to the hands and everything, it would still be awesome. But there's something for me that I really like about the bits where it's bare at the top of the shoulders, because that's such an unusual place to not be
Mm,
covered, that there's a strange um vulnerability there, that because it's a little unusual and you don't know, you like, no sleeves is one thing, or short sleeves is one thing, or like a tank top look is one thing, or no top is one thing, but having something that's just a little bit different and reveals parts of the body which it's people see all the time. It's, there's nothing odd about it, but it's just a little unusual to me. That gives it that adds a certain vulnerability to it and a certain specificity to this iteration of the character, which I just think is really fun.
yeah, I think that's a great answer, and I love the purple outfit, and yeah, and that's good points. And I like that with all these characters, they gave them like a different tune-up than the original animated series to make it have its own stamp in X-Men '97, which I think is really cool. And my last question for you, man, I'm so happy you have that Marvel Legends Magneto helmet behind you because you had posted on your Insta story that you had it.
Yeah.
So now, can you confirm or deny the rumors that you wore the helmet in the recording booth when you voiced Magneto?
I think at one point when I excuse me, when I first got it, I think at one point I did click on, because I recorded the entire show from my home studio from this booth here.
Oh, wow.
First, I think I can't remember for sure, but I have a feeling one of the first times I got it, I did just sort of click onto the Zoom and then just like stand up wearing it, just the response. The problem with it is that, like, I couldn't actually record in it because the way that it sort of comes across, and it's hard plastic. This is going to affect how it sound, and it won't if you're just listening, but for, if I put it on and go to the mic in there, every engineer goes, "That doesn't sound right. You sound, so there's echo. It's weird. It sounds odd. So you have to take that off." It's the same way of like, you can't have even a hand in front of your face, or anything that kind of moves the sound a little bit. Like, the engineers, their ears are so well tuned that they hear it.
Yeah.
Um, I was able to wear it for fun. I wasn't able to wear it to record in, because it would have it would have made the whole thing sound weird, which we never really address in the show. That some of the outfits and costumes really should sound like the first sound like, okay.
No, it's true, but at least you can wear it around the house to get in character if you ever need to. Um,
And the weird thing about it, though, is that because I didn't, there's pads in it to fit it, and I haven't done that yet. And because of, like, when I first put it on, my wife was like, "Yeah, put it on." I put it on. She just starts laughing. I said, "What?" She says, "You you kind of look like an extra from the Mines of Moria. You kind of look like a dwarf from Lord of the Rings that isn't all quite there, or like had something heavy fall on him. You just look a little off." I went, "Yeah, I probably should fit this better before I put it on. Otherwise, it's gonna undo the effect of, like, oh, there's the Magneto actor in the hell." That's disappointing, and so we take everything seriously. So I need to actually fit it and be a little more intentional about how I make it work before I actually put it on again in public.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I love you embrace the character in X-Men so much that it really is awesome. Fans love to see that. So everybody, keep watching episode 5. Talking about it, they haven't seen it yet. It's really, really special episode. And watch X-Men '97 on Disney Plus every Wednesday. Matthew, thank you so much for joining me, man. I hope to talk to you in the future one day.
That'd be great. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.